You are surrounded by fools and it is exhausting. You think your intelligence is your greatest asset. In the wrong room, it becomes your biggest vulnerability. Picture a clean white shirt in a muddy street. The smarter you are, the more you notice the stains, and the more you try to scrub them, the dirt spreads. Now picture a boardroom, a family table, or a comment section that thinks it is a courtroom. One person speaks with perfect confidence about something they barely understand. You feel it in your chest first. Your mind instantly draws a map of their mistakes. You collect facts like stones in your pocket ready to throw. You deliver the argument cleanly. You expect light to land on their face. Instead, they blink and repeat the same nonsense with even more certainty. You walk away drained. Not because you were wrong, because you stepped into the intelligence trap. The intelligence trap is simple. You project your operating system onto someone who cannot run it. Intelligent people carry a naive belief that truth has value in a disagreement. That evidence changes minds. That logic earns respect. Arthur Schopenhauer hated that illusion. He saw a darker engine. People argue to win status, not to find truth. Picture a chess match where one player is following rules and the other is flipping the board and calling it strategy. Psychology gave it a name, the Dunning-Kruger effect. Low ability paired with hallucinated confidence. But do not treat it like a graph. Treat it like gravity. It pulls every conversation downhill unless you know how to resist it. Ignorance is not passive. It is armored. When you bring logic to a foolish person, they do not see an opportunity to learn. They feel a threat to their ego. Picture a mirror held up to someone who hates their reflection. They do not fix the face. They attack the mirror. Daniel Kahneman explained the mind like two gears. System 1 is fast, emotional, instinctive. System 2 is slow, deliberate, logical. Most fools live in System 1. They feel first, decide instantly, and then defend the decision like it is sacred. You try to speak in System 2. You offer nuance, data, probabilities. It becomes a translation error. Picture you speaking mathematics to a barking dog. Not because the dog is evil, because the dog cannot receive the language. And here is the brutal imbalance. You do all the work. You spend energy building a careful argument. They spend zero energy rejecting it. They drain you not by outsmarting you, but by outlasting you. Picture a man pulling you into a swamp and calling it debate. The longer you fight, the deeper you sink. Schopenhauer understood this 2 centuries ago. He saw that truth has no currency in a debate with a fool. So what do? If logic fails, how do you win without losing your mind? You stop fighting them directly. You weaponize their momentum. The intellect is often a servant to the will. And the will is emotional, irrational, hungry for dominance. When you argue with a fool, you are providing them with exactly what they want. Friction. Friction makes them feel important. Your frustration proves to them that they matter. Every time you counter their point, you legitimize their delusion. You are telling them their idea is worthy of your time and your anger. To break a fool, you must deny them friction. How? By using Schopenhauer's most savage strategy. Do not disagree with them. Agree with them, but agree with them so completely that you push their argument into the realm of pure absurdity. Philosophy calls it reductio ad absurdum. In dark strategy, it is simply handing a man enough rope to expose himself. Picture a colleague who insists that all modern art is a scam and that anyone could paint a masterpiece. The instinct of the intelligent person is to argue about technique, art history, and expression. Stop. Instead, lean in, nod slowly. You are entirely right, you say. In fact, since it is so easy, we should quit our jobs today. We will buy some paint this afternoon. You can do the canvases. I will find the gallery. We will be millionaires by Friday. Why are we even sitting in this office? Watch their eyes. You have not attacked them. You have completely validated their premise. But you have accelerated it to its logical, catastrophic conclusion. The fool operates on the surface. They never think 3 steps ahead. When you force them to look at the destination of their own thought process, their brain short-circuits. They have to backpedal. They have to inject nuance. They have to suddenly start arguing against themselves to save face. You did not defeat them with your logic. You defeated them with their own stupidity. Schopenhauer employed this mercilessly. He did not treat charlatan ideas as equals. He magnified their flaws until the flaws became comical. When you do this, you protect your energy. You step out of the ring. You become the observer watching a child trip over his own shoelaces. But this requires a terrifying shift in your own psychology. You must kill the part of your ego that desperately wants to be recognized as right. Intelligent people are addicted to being correct. You want the other person conceding. You want the moral victory. Schopenhauer would tell you that seeking validation from a fool is the ultimate form of stupidity. Why do you care if a lesser mind acknowledges your brilliance? Why do you need a blind man to compliment your painting? When you drop the need to be right in their eyes, you become immune to their provocations. Let them hold their incorrect beliefs. Let them walk into the world with their flawed maps. It is not your duty to save them. It is your duty to protect yourself from them. Which brings us to a darker realization. Stupidity is not a passive trait. It is highly contagious. If you spend enough time trying to navigate the chaotic, irrational landscape of a foolish person's mind, you will begin to compromise your own. Your mental bandwidth is strictly limited. When you interact with a highly irrational person, your brain works overtime. You are trying to predict unpredictable reactions. You are suppressing frustration. You are walking on eggshells. This sustained cognitive taxation slowly degrades you. You become irritable. You make poor choices. You lose your creative edge. You are letting a parasite feed on your intellectual capital. Schopenhauer was notoriously solitary. People called him a misanthrope, but he did not hate humanity. He was ruthless about his mental diet. He understood the porcupine dilemma. On a cold winter night, porcupines huddle for warmth, but their quills prick each other, forcing them apart. They are trapped between freezing in isolation or bleeding in intimacy. The intelligent person must master this distance. You cannot avoid foolish people entirely. So you establish a psychological quarantine. When you are forced to interact with them, you do not bring your authentic self. You bring an avatar. The avatar is polite. The avatar smiles. The avatar speaks in short, agreeable sentences. Interesting perspective. I see what you mean. That's one way to look at it. The avatar gives them nothing to attack. The avatar is a mirror reflecting their own noise back at them while your actual mind remains protected behind a fortress of detachment. This is the Machiavellian application of Schopenhauer's philosophy. You are physically present but intellectually absent. They will think they are having a conversation with you. They will think they are winning. Let them. The illusion of victory is the cheapest toy you can give a fool to keep them quiet. Do you feel the guilt rising? The societal conditioning telling you that this is manipulative, that it is arrogant to view others this way. Kill that guilt. That guilt is exactly why you have been suffering. A foolish person who aggressively insists on their own ignorance is not innocent. They are a hazard. Stupidity is dangerous. You do not owe it your vulnerability. You must view their ignorance as a force of nature. You do not argue with a hurricane. You do not try to educate a flood. You board up the windows. You seek high ground. And you let the storm exhaust itself. But what happens when the fool has power over you? What happens when the irrational mind signs your paycheck or holds the key to your promotion? This requires a different set of weapons. The most dangerous animal is not the predator. It is the frightened beast with a crown. When a person of low intellect acquires power, their entire psychology is built on insecurity. They sense on a primal level that they are outmatched by minds around them. They do not process this as a need to learn. They process it as a threat to survival. If you walk into their domain and display your brilliance, you are holding a mirror up to their inadequacy. A fool with power will shatter the mirror to avoid looking at the reflection. They will not attack your intelligence directly. They will attack your character. They will call you difficult, uncooperative, or not a team player. They will use the bureaucracy of the system to bleed you dry. You cannot out-argue a king in his own castle. You must outplay him. There is an old story from strategy history. A brilliant commander serving beneath a foolish regent. The regent was arrogant, impulsive, and deeply envious of the commander's intellect. So the commander executed the submission gambit. He acted weak, confused, harmless, broken. Spies came to check on him, and he played the part perfectly. The foolish regent laughed. He felt superior. He felt safe. He stopped viewing the commander as a threat and lowered his defenses. Then, at the right moment, the commander dropped the act. He stood up, and the entire structure changed hands without a debate. Whether you know the names or not, the lesson is universal. Your intelligence is not a badge you wear on your chest. It is a concealed weapon. You do not draw a concealed weapon to show off. You keep it hidden until the exact moment it is required. When dealing with a powerful fool, feed them the exact emotion they are starving for. Superiority. Ask them for advice on trivial matters. Let them correct you on minor, irrelevant details. Thank them for their insight. You are not submitting. You are anesthetizing them. You are injecting their ego with a narcotic so heavy they fall asleep at the wheel, leaving you free to operate in the shadows. You trade a momentary scratch to your pride for absolute maneuverability. You must understand the economics of attention. Every hour you spend debating a fool is an hour stolen from your own empire. Fools are energy vampires. They do not produce, they consume. They drag you into endless circular debates because they have nothing better to do. Your time is expensive, theirs is worthless. When you engage, you are trading gold for dirt. Cut the transaction, walk away, let them believe they won. The lion does not lose sleep over the opinions of sheep. We need to address the darkest part of your psychology, the reason you keep engaging with them. It is not just because you want to be right. It is because you feel sorry for them. You think if you can just make them see the truth, their life will improve. This is the arrogance of empathy. Dunning and Kruger revealed the cruelest joke of human psychology. The skills required to be competent at a task are the exact same skills required to recognize competence. Therefore, the profoundly incompetent lack the metacognition to realize they are incompetent. They are trapped in a fortress of unearned confidence, completely blind to their own deficits. You cannot save them. They do not want to be saved. They enjoy the fortress. It is warm inside. It protects them from the terrifying complexity of the real world. When you try to forcefully drag them into the harsh light of truth, you are not acting as a healer. You are acting as an invader. and they will fight you with the ferocity of a wild animal defending its territory. Look at the people in your life. The chronically broke friend who refuses to change their spending habits but aggressively argues about the economy. The toxic family member who creates endless drama but insists everyone else is the problem. How many years have you spent trying to use logic to fix them? They have not changed a single degree. But you have aged. You have grown tired. Your empathy is funding their delusion. Schopenhauer was ruthless in his assessment. People rarely change nature, they change circumstances. Accepting this is painful. It requires emotional amputation. You stop trying to upgrade them, you start managing them. You manage a fool the way you manage heavy machinery. Hands out of the gears, stay behind the safety lines. Expect it to operate exactly as it was built to operate. When it malfunctions, you do not argue with it. You pull the plug. What happens when you finally stop fighting them? When you drop the rope, stop explaining yourself and simply observe the circus without participating. You experience a shift. You realize how much of your identity was wrapped up in being the smartest person in the room. You realize how much you relied on the friction of debating fools to feel alive. Many intelligent people surround themselves with lesser minds intentionally. It is easy to look like a genius when you are surrounded by idiots. It is a psychological crutch. But Schopenhauer warned that a man of high intellect who fraternizes with the vulgar will eventually be dragged down to their level. The mind adapts to its environment. So withdraw. Not a physical withdrawal into the woods, a mental withdrawal, an emotional quarantine. You must become comfortable with being misunderstood. Fools will misinterpret your distance. They will call you arrogant. They will assume your refusal to argue is weakness. Let them. Why should the judgment of a flawed mind affect the peace of a sharp one? Imagine walking through an asylum. The patients point at you and call you crazy. Do you stop to debate them? No, you keep walking. When a fool insults you, it is not an insult, it is a misdiagnosis. When they reject your idea, it is not a failure. It is confirmation that your idea is beyond their reach. This level of detachment is not coldness, it is clarity. The understanding that your energy is finite, and every drop spent on someone committed to ignorance is stolen from your own potential. We idolize debates, but nothing is resolved. It is theater played for applause. The truly dangerous minds do not play for applause, they play for outcomes. So abandon the stage. Adopt the mindset of an architect surrounded by toddlers. You do not explain load-bearing pillars to toddlers. You hand them a toy, and while they are distracted, you pour concrete. This is the final lesson. Intelligence is knowing you are right. Power is not needing them to know it. Never spend premium attention on discount minds.